Hi, my name is Jennifer Johnson. I'm a curator at the National Archives Museum, and I'm standing outside the Lawrence F. O'Brien Gallery. We're about to go on a walk through Making Their Mark, Stories Through Signatures, which is open through January 5th, 2015. Making Their Mark, Stories Through Signatures features original signatures from the National Archives' extensive nationwide holdings. They illustrate the many ways people have placed their signature on history, from developing a signature style to signing groundbreaking policy into law. The stories in these records of famous and infamous, known and unknown individuals are all part of our nation's history, all making their marks on the American narrative. Each story in the exhibit illustrates the many ways people have left their mark on history or popular culture. Signatures illustrate the power of original records and the important role the National Archives has in preserving our nation's history. Nearly half of the items in the exhibit come from our presidential libraries and our field offices nationwide. This is truly a one NARA exhibit. There are 7 themes to the exhibit that cover all range of topics. I am standing in the signature style section, which has artifacts and clothing that came from our presidential libraries and field offices. Now I'm standing in something to say, which is one of the other themes of the exhibit, and this section has examples of stories from individuals, either letters or petitions, or as you see behind me, the big door that was sent in by home builders to President Reagan in 1981. Signatures are personal and illuminating. The act of signing can be as simple as a routine mark on a form, or it can be a pen stroke that changes many lives. Signatures can be an act of defiance or a symbol of thanks and friendship. A signature can be many things. From John Hancock's distinct swirling signature to legislation allowing the auto pen to authenticate a law or document, technology has changed how we sign. President Clinton signed the Electronic Signatures in Global and National Commerce Act on June 30th, 2000, and he used digital signature technology to do so.
They could have emailed their John Hancocks in.
In this section of the exhibit, we find ourselves near the Power of the Pen theme and official business, which both show evidence or records from the day-to-day business of the government. For this exhibit, we created a companion publication. We created an e-guide, and it's free, so I encourage you to download it from iTunes, our archives.gov publications page. But it's a really nice companion piece because it allows you to explore the exhibit in an interactive format and really learn more about the records that you see here in the gallery. Presidents often use several pens to sign important legislation, and these 50 pens were used by President Kennedy or President Johnson to sign bills passed between 1961 and 1965. After the New York Giants won their 4th Super Bowl in 2012, the team and coaches presented this autographed football to President Obama. The LA Lakers signed this shirt and presented it to President Reagan in 1988, and it is signed by team members including Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. In 1974, Johnny Cash wrote to President Ford expressing his support for 2 of his recent controversial decisions. He had just issued an unconditional pardon of Richard Nixon and also introduced an amnesty program for Vietnam War draft resistors. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, patented this shoe so he could perform his gravity-defying dance moves on stage. A signature can be many things. Beyond written signatures, there are examples of signature style, such as President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's cigarette holder. These boots are a signature item, coming from the George H.W. Bush Presidential Library Museum. The boots were given to President Bush by bootmaker Tony Lama. Just a few years after the successful introduction of Mickey Mouse, this rarely seen illustration is an exhibit from a copyright infringement lawsuit that Walt Disney filed against a company who created a copycat mouse named Milton. In 1937, Richard Nixon submitted this application to be a special agent in the FBI. It wasn't until Nixon was Vice President of the United States that he learned what happened. Director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, told him that he had been accepted, but due to budget cuts, his appointment was held back. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, President Roosevelt issued these 2 memorandums, both signed by him. These 2 records illustrate how the president can bring welcome relief or implement policies that disrupt the lives of many. One allocated funds for the recovery of Pearl Harbor, and the other authorized the removal of enemy aliens. This marriage certificate between Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun is affixed with their signatures, as well as witnesses Joseph Goebbels and Martin Bormann. Accompanying it is the U.S. Army's English translation. Famous Hollywood director John Huston created a documentary for the U.S. Army during World War II called Let There Be Light, which focused on returning veterans and educated the public on what is known today as PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm now standing in the final theme of the exhibit, called From Quills to Pixels, and here we explore how technology has changed how we sign things. In fact, behind me is an AutoPen Interactive that allows visitors to take home with them a John Hancock signature. Making Their Mark, Stories Through Signatures draws from the billions of government records at the National Archives to showcase a unique collection of signatures and tell the fascinating stories behind them.